Christ is risen. Christos anesti, Christos voskresi almasi kam. Welcome back to World War Live, everybody. I'm your host, Conrad Franz, here on Tuesday, April 14th, with the first piece of World War Now content, let alone the first live stream here in the Paschal season. So I hope everybody is celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ. I hope everybody is feasting, and I hope everybody is preparing tomorrow to not fast on Wednesday, because it is, of course, the Paschal resurrection season where we celebrate the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ, his conquering of death. Of course, Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs, bestowing life. So I hope everybody was able to make it to their Pascha service, whether you're an Orthodox member of my audience or not. That was my exhortation to everybody, was to go and celebrate Pascha. So I hope everyone was able to do that. Sorry, I was distracted. I need to post all of the links on Telegram and everywhere so that people can join the stream. Give me 1 second here. But I hope everyone is doing well. Everybody tell me how you're doing in the chat. I see E-War Mapping, Rasputin Archive, Gabriel, Michael, Jacob, George, St. Barbara, Edmonton, See No Evil, World War Now Clips. We're going to shout out the World War Now Clips channel here in a second. But I hope everybody is having a good evening. I hope everyone has been enjoying the meat and the cheese and the eggs and everything else that has been going on now that Lent and Holy Week are over. So I hope, again, everyone is basking in the light of the resurrection and the joy of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We have a lot to talk about this evening. Not seeing a huge audience this evening. Maybe people are still so enjoying the feast that they aren't ready to tune in. But be sure to share the stream, like the stream if you are tuning in right now. If you're on Substack, X, or YouTube, give the stream a like, give the stream a share, send this to someone who you think might be interested in watching it. And of course, subscribe. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, subscribe there. If you're not subscribed on Substack, subscribe there. If you don't follow us on X at World War Now _ follow us there. But there's a lot of things that have gone on. Of course, the negotiations occurred over the Paschal weekend, which I was very grateful to not have to cover due to my brief sabbatical for the season. But I think it's clear that the Lord providentially arranged this ceasefire to occur over Pascha Sunday so that the Orthodox Christians, particularly in the Middle East, would be able to celebrate the resurrection in peace, because I would not be surprised if this war resumed in earnest in the very, very near future. But before we dive right into the coverage, I want to encourage everybody to subscribe at worldwarnow.co. Like I just said, get behind the paywall at the Substack. And if you check out our latest episode that I just uploaded, this is our latest Q&A episode. We answer questions from dozens of audience members. And if you become ether-pilled and get behind the paywall like they did, you can ask us questions to be answered in a future Q&A episode. These are extensive, long answers that we did do some research into. So if there's anything you've been itching to ask us in particular and want to get a detailed answer, ask it here in the Q&A thread. I believe there's only been 1 or 2 questions in history that we have refused to ask, and that was because they were anti-Orthodox polemical questions. But check this out. Of course, you don't just get access to this in the Q&A threads. If you click the Ether Hour tab, you get access to every single Ether Hour episode at this point. Well over 114 episodes, because we have a few special editions, like our interview with former Defense Minister of Lebanon, Yaqub Saraf. We have episode 13.5, which is an upload of my interview with Anthony Westgate about how space is fake. We have other recent episodes with Anthony Westgate about Epstein, huge, interesting episodes with Levon Vasadze, all about Georgia and Patriarch Ilya, episodes with Matthew Raphael Johnson, all sorts of episodes about Rasputin, my interview in Donbass with Metropolitan Mitrofan of Gorlovka. All of those are available to paid subscribers. So I hope everybody can check all of that out. I want to encourage everyone also, if you're already a paid subscriber or you want to just support us with a one-time donation, be sure to visit the Buy Me a Coffee at buymeacoffee.com/World War Now. That is one of the best ways you can support the show. So support us there, support us on the Substack. And I want to encourage everyone, for the first time, subscribe to the WWN Clips YouTube channel. This channel is run by a good friend of the show. So check this out. I'm even going to drop the link in the description down below. So be sure to check out the World War Now Clips YouTube channel. I believe I even saw them in the chat. So all sorts of clips are going to be posted to this channel, shorts and full videos for a little bit longer of clips. So check this out, share the clips, like the clips. The clips are one of the main ways we can grow the show, because most people can't. Most people refuse to click a 2-hour podcast before at least knowing what it's about, because their attention spans are that of goldfish. So check out WWN Clips. There's also a WWN Clips on X, so be sure to check that out as well. And be sure to follow the World War Now Instagram that I run. So go on Instagram and find World War Now. That is me. So I think that's all of the shilling that we need to do for now. I want to remind everyone to send in a super chat this evening if you want to answer any question. To answer any questions here on the stream. Love answering questions here. So we got $4.99 from Rasputin Archive. We love WWN. We love Conrad. 5 shekels. Thank you, brother. Looking forward to part 2 of the Rasputin Ether Hour episode. That will be recording in a few weeks. So good to see you in the chat. Again, everyone, feel free to send your super chats, small or big. We will be answering all of the questions. And of course, at the end, we'll be playing some Ethnoguesser. It's been 2 weeks now, so I may be a little rusty, but we're going to be locking in regardless. But the big news that, of course, we need to discuss, again, related to World War III, is this supposed blockade of Iran. That's right. Trump has said the U.S. military has started a blockade on Iranian ports, as Iran calls it, piracy. This is from antiwar.com. It says, President Trump said on Monday that the U.S. military has begun enforcing a blockade on the Strait of Hormuz, as Iran has denounced the move as piracy. U.S. Central Command said the blockade will aim to impede the passage of all ships entering or leaving Iranian ports, including those in the Arabian Sea and the Gulf of Oman. U.S. Navy ships will be enforcing the blockade from the Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea east of the Strait of Hormuz. CENTCOM also said it wouldn't block ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz that aren't linked to Iran, but such vessels would likely be blocked by Iran anyway, meaning the U.S. will have the effect of shutting down all transits through the strait. Iran's military released a statement calling the U.S. blockade illegal and warning that if the security of ports in Iran is threatened, no port in the region would be safe. The restrictions imposed by criminal American maritime navigation and transit in international waters are illegal and constitute an example of piracy, said the spokesman for Iran's Khatam al-Anbiya central headquarters. In a post on Truth Social, President Trump warned that any Iranian naval vessels that come near the U.S. Navy ships enforcing the blockade would be eliminated, and referenced the U.S. bombing campaign against small alleged drug boats in the water of Latin America. Iran's Navy is laying at the bottom of the sea, completely obliterated 158 ships. What we have not hit are the small number of what they call fast attack ships because we did not consider them much of a threat, Trump said. Warning, if these ships come anywhere near our blockade, they will be immediately eliminated using the same system of kill that we used against the drug dealers on boats at sea. It is quick and brutal. P.S. 98.2% of drugs coming into the U.S. by ocean or sea have stopped, the president added. In another post, Trump claimed that 34 ships passed through the Strait of Hormuz on Sunday, but according to ship trackers, only 4 ships made the transit that day. Trump ordered the blockade after the U.S. and Iran failed to reach a deal with talks in Pakistan. The blockade is seen as a pressure campaign to get Iran to capitulate to U.S. demands, including a commitment to zero nuclear enrichment, but there's no sign yet that Tehran is backing down, while Israel has continued its attacks on Lebanon. A ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran has held for several days. All right, so we're going to be discussing Lebanon, the ceasefire, the Pakistan negotiations, and all of that. And the latest updates on the Pakistan negotiations are that there may be a new round of negotiations on Thursday. Trump today conducted an interview with Maria Bartiromo of Fox News. And in the interview, apparently she said this after the interview, it hasn't aired yet, that Trump was exclusively referring to the Iran war in the past tense, indicating that he is tired of it, is bored with it, he doesn't want to resume the fighting. Of course, could this all be another ruse to woo the Iranians into lure them into a false sense of security? Of course, that should always be on the table. And I've maintained, again, with this blockade going on, Iran has a legitimate reason to relaunch the war at any day and to start attacking these U.S. ships to allow their shipping to be able to transit through the strait. So we're going to be keeping an eye on these potential negotiations on Thursday. So there were reports that came from the recent negotiations over the weekend that Abbas Araghchi and Steve Witkoff almost came to physical blows in a room together when it came to the issue of the Strait of Hormuz itself. So that is that's interesting. We have really no idea if that's true or not, obviously. But again, in the midst of all of this, Trump and the U.S. are trying to pressure Israel, doing everything they can to stop attacking Lebanon. Israel continues to attack Lebanon. Hezbollah continues to respond back towards Israel. Naim Qassem, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, released a statement saying that they reject all negotiations with Israel. Lebanon is in a state of resistance, and the negotiators are not representatives of Lebanon. Of course, the U.S. invited Israeli and Lebanese mediators, the ambassadors of each country, to negotiate in the United States. The first time that Lebanon and Israel have had direct negotiations, because, of course, Lebanon does not recognize Israel as a legitimate state. And again, this is showing you how far the Lebanese forces, Nawaf Salam and the Shabbos Goyim in the Maronite majority right now, not majority, but the large Maronite party that are the largest in the coalition that governs Lebanon, they are perfectly willing to allow Israel to literally annex the land south of the Litani River if it means that Hezbollah will be disarmed. Right now, and Marco Rubio, Netanyahu, everyone, even though they initially said that we can't disarm Hezbollah now, they're reiterating disarmament as a necessity, obviously as a way to let the U.S. keep them conducting military operations. Of course, the reports are that Israel has surrounded Bin Jabel, the town there. Reports are that Hezbollah soldiers are holed up in the center and are going to be fighting it out to the very end. And we've had reports that apparently major Israeli casualties have been taken. It was the commander, I believe, of the 52nd battalion of the IDF ground forces was killed in this attack. 10 others seriously wounded. At this point, it's been hundreds of Israeli soldiers seriously wounded, dozens killed in the invasion of Lebanon. It says here, Israeli ground troops launched an invasion of the border town of Bint Jabel today, initially surrounding the town and inundating it with artillery fire before advancing deeper in. Hezbollah fighters are reportedly within the town resisting the advance. Details of what is happening in the town vary based on different sources, but the IDF have claimed not only to have fully encircled the town, but to have killed over 100 terrorists in the attack that has led to them nearly seizing the town. Israeli troops also made a point of the fact that they captured the town's stadium, noting that Hezbollah founder Hassan Nasrallah once gave a speech there decades ago commemorating the end of the Israeli occupation of Lebanon. So again, this city is not far into Lebanon. It's very close to the Israeli border. The timing of this attack coming immediately ahead of planned U.S.-hosted talks between Israeli and Lebanese officials, and raising some speculation that Israel is looking for last-minute gains before winding down the conflict. In reality, that may not be a factor at all. Israel is going into the peace talks seemingly openly averse to the idea of a ceasefire, and polls showing the Israeli public decisively against the idea of not attacking Lebanon, and indeed divided on the question of whether or not to respect the U.S.-Iran ceasefire. Reports from Lebanese officials are that at least 34 people were killed in an Israeli attacks across the nation, while the overall toll since the war began approached 2,100 killed. Hezbollah, for their part, opposed the U.S. talks, which they were not invited to participate in, and is continuing to resist the Israeli invasion, launching drone attacks and rocket attacks against Israeli territory. So that's what we're experiencing now. And the only so-called violation of the ceasefire, I guess you could say, from Iran or the United States, is we did get footage of Shahed 136 drones attacking Kurdish military camps in Iraq, and unknown fighter jets shot them down. The jets that we saw didn't appear to be American or Iraqi jets, so whether they were Israeli jets or some other kind of Syrian or Azeri force nearby protecting the Kurds, that is yet to be seen, but that was definitely an interesting news tanker. It says here, a non-Iranian VLCC supertanker capable of carrying about 2 million barrels of crude and sanctioned by the U.S. has entered Iran via the Strait of Hormuz, all while her AIS was switched on per tanker tracker. So I guess that was missed by the U.S. blockade. We have $10 from Beauty of the Struggle here. Christ is risen. Indeed, he is risen. Gotta love the piggyback miracle of the sepulchre reopening after providential 40 days in order for the holy fire to descend after it was still closed for the Latins the week before. So true. We obviously, the Latins, they did have their service. They even clarified that they weren't really being supposedly persecuted by the Israelis, but obviously we did see the Orthodox parishioners trying to make it to the church still being beat up. The limits were strictly enforced, so it's not really a free situation down there. But nonetheless, the holy fire descended and was celebrated, and people were able to, in Bethlehem and the West Bank, even in Gaza in some capacity, even though 10 people there were just killed today in an Israeli strike, they were able to have a little bit of peace as the bombs weren't flying, as the missile interceptors weren't misfiring, potentially landing on churches. So that's what's going on right now. Again, feel free to send in whatever super chats you guys may have. We got $10 more from Beauty of the Struggle. Are we going to discuss Trump posting AI slop of literal blasphemy? Lol, his presidency is almost starting to feel like a humiliation ritual or some kind of psyop to shake off any remaining support he had. I mean, yeah, he deleted it and they tried to claim it was him as a doctor or something. But yeah, I mean, the Antichrist vibes are just getting really, really problematic. I mean, him posting something like that, all the Epstein stuff, the fact that he's just completely owned by Israel, the fact that he is just, I mean, the Easter posts about all the swearing and no Pascha greeting at all to Orthodox Christians, and again the complete lack of remorse for killing the schoolgirls in Iran and these other horrible mistakes that have been made. I think, in general, I think we're all going to be ready when Trump is just gone and we don't have to think about him anymore, because a lot of us defended this guy for almost a decade. I started to realize he was likely a type of the Antichrist probably in 2023, 2022 even, really near the beginning of when we started this show. And here we are. So I think that instinct was very much correct. Speaking of that, we have here the Iranian embassy in Tajikistan has uploaded an AI video showing Jesus Christ punching Trump in the face with the line, "Your reckoning has come," and then throwing him into hellfire. The video is a response to Trump portraying himself as Jesus Christ. So, again, I understand that we aren't Muslims. We aren't ecumenists with Muslims. Muslims are heretics. They do not believe in the true God. They do not worship Jesus Christ, the Trinity, the Godhead, God the Father. But they fundamentally still have basically greater level of respect for Jesus Christ than Donald Trump, than our president. So, Rasputin Archive, not my president. That's true, man. Joe Biden is still my president at the end of the day. Hail Brandon. So that's, would Brandon have gotten us into this situation? We'll never know. We will never know. Of course, one of the big news is regarding the blockade, I guess, with that ship that just got by. Here, this is from Mike Painovich. It says, Press TV exclusive, U.S. destroyer transit and trader Hormuz aborted under Iranian pressure. We will show the video here.
U.S. Navy warship 121. This is Sepah Navy station. You must alter course and go back to the Indian Ocean immediately. If you don't obey my order, you will be targeted. Out.
This is Coalition Warship 121, engaged in transit passage in accordance with international law. No challenge is attended to you.
U.S. Navy warship transiting in the vicinity of Fojay Report and Oman Sea. This is Sepah Navy. This is Sepah Navy. Last warning, last warning, last warning.
He was close to High Island 4.
Attention all vessels, attention all vessels, attention all vessels in Oman Sea. This is Iranian Sepah Navy. If you see any warship in your vicinity, keep a distance more than 10 miles from them because I'm ready to open fire on them without any warning.
So a U.S. Navy vessel was turned back through the straits after it tried to pass through the Strait of Hormuz and was told by Iranian IRGC Navy forces that they were going to be turned back. So, yes, that is the situation there. Sorry, one sec. Sorry, people texting me and not knowing basic things. We did, of course, have this report. J.D. Vance was today speaking in front of a TPUSA crowd, getting viewed, getting booed, called out, heckled for the Gaza genocide. But this report, not surprising anyone, but we want the details. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Monday that he spoke with Vice President J.D. Vance after the U.S.-Iran talks in Pakistan and described the call as part of a daily report the Trump administration provides him. He says, I spoke yesterday with Vice President J.D. Vance. He helped me from his plane on his way back from Islamabad. He reported to me in detail, as this administration does every day, about the development of negotiations. Netanyahu said at a cabinet meeting. According to Axios reporter Barak Ravid, the comments from Netanyahu highlight the close coordination between U.S. and Israel on Iran. Ravid reported in early March that U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner, who has known Netanyahu since he was a child, was speaking to Netanyahu and other Israeli officials nearly every day. Witkoff and Kushner led the negotiations with Iran in the lead up to the war, and both attended the Pakistan talks. Again, remember, when it was Iran, you had IRGC generals, scholars, leaders, all these other groups, and ultimately, and then you have the Speaker of their Parliament, the Foreign Minister, and their heads of national security were there. The main negotiators from us are Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff, whose main qualifications are just being two Jewish guys. Like, that is literally who they are. They're Jewish real estate New York developers. That's what we have. So, full Chabad Lubavitch takeover here. This is a March 4th report from Ravid for Axios read. A U.S. official said envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's advisor and son-in-law Jared Kushner talk almost every day to Netanyahu, to the director of Mossad David Barnea, and to other Israeli officials. And that regardless of ups and downs in the past, the coordination over the last month was very close. Upon upcoming negotiations will fail if we don't restrain the Israelis. And some people need to talk about the Joe Kent comments where he said we need to restrain Israel. But obviously, The situation with the Mossad head, David Barnea, is also interesting. He was reportedly in the Situation Room when Netanyahu briefed Trump and convinced him to actually do the war. But it was the situation was that Barnea was there giving an intelligence report, and that today David Barnea said that they are still pursuing regime change in Iran, and that the war will not be over until that regime change is succeeded and occurs. So that's the situation there. I've seen a lot of, I'm trying to find this footage. I thought I had it pulled up of some Hezbollah drones taking out Israeli Merkava tanks. There's one video. All right, yeah, I think this was the footage from today. So we'll watch this while I just quickly answer this message, and that will cover all that. Things just don't want to work. Here we go. All right, FPV drone Hezbollah. So there we have, again, it's interesting seeing the Russian FPV style. We're so used to seeing those videos in Russia and Ukraine that we are seeing them in Lebanon is a bit startling. So that is what's been going on. We have $5 from St. Barbara, Edmonton. In your monitoring expertise, how many Jewish casualties so far? Well, obviously casualties is a tough number to surmise, but okay, I think my mouse is just kicked me out of the studio for no reason. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there were 1,000+ wounded, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was at this point over 50 dead minimum. They're obviously not going to report on that honestly. And again, the civilian casualties, we also have no idea, completely in the dark. I mean, Kiryat Shmona, these other northern Israeli towns have been completely depopulated. But yeah, I just got completely removed from the studio for absolutely no reason. So gonna try to not crash out, but feel free to send in whatever super chats you want me to read. Oh, we have a report here from 1 minute ago. Al Jazeera, it says the Reuters news agency reports that a U.S. destroyer has interdicted 2 oil tankers attempting to leave Iran and order them to turn around. Citing U.S. official who spoke on the condition of anonymity, Reuters said the incident occurred on Tuesday, that is today. According to the official, the ships had departed from Chabahar port in the Gulf of Oman and were contacted by the via radio communication. They added the 2 tankers were among the 6 merchant vessels the U.S. Central Command said in a statement earlier on Tuesday had followed orders to turn around to re-enter an Iranian port in the Gulf of Oman. Central Command said no ships have made it past the blockade since it went into effect on Monday at 10 a.m. Washington time. So that is what we are dealing with. I guess we have some of the Fox News interview with Trump that just dropped, so we can watch some of that. Basically claiming that it's close to over. So we will get this going.
I had to divert because if I didn't do that, right now you would have Iran with a nuclear weapon. And if they had a nuclear weapon, you would be calling everybody over there, sir. And you don't want to do that.
Well, you keep saying was. Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. We'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly.
We're not finished. We'll see what happens. He sounds retarded. I mean, this guy doesn't sound like anything like he used to sound like. His voice sounds haggard. He sounds tired. He doesn't sound like he really knows what he's saying. He sounds like it's all largely rehearsed. So again, they're not willing to let them pass charge a toll through the Strait of Hormuz. They're not willing to let them keep their enriched uranium. They're not willing to let them keep enriching uranium. They're not willing to let them keep funding their proxies. They're not willing to give them reparations, and they're not willing to do full sanctions reliefs. And they're obviously not willing to force Israel to do a ceasefire in Lebanon. So what exactly are the Iranians going to gain from continuing to negotiate and continuing to come to the table? Again, it's clear that the only language the Americans and the Israelis understand is the language of force and war. E-war mapping. Do you see any likelihood of going into another 6 months to 1 year pause in the fighting before it resumes, similar to last year? That could totally happen. I mean, that's what Elder Joseph of Ethnoguesser talks about. It's clear that this new generation of World War III it's very start and go, stop and go. It's very information war focused, and it's very much about this new worldwide economy that didn't exactly, not that it didn't exist in some capacity in the Second World War, but it's much more interconnected. And these small sort of disruptions to the supply chain and the economy, like the Strait of Hormuz being closed, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Straits of Malacca that everyone are talking about now, those have a huge effect, and the entire world economy can collapse if those things get disrupted. So that is that. I mean, look, that could easily happen. However, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of this week, beginning of next week, we're right back to shooting and bombing once again, because again, Israel, the idea that they're going to stop in Lebanon, I think, is incorrect. And the idea that they're going to stop trying to assassinate these IRGC and Iranian government officials, I think, is also ludicrous. They're going to keep trying to expand the Greater Israel Project. They still don't control all of Gaza. That's a problem for them. The Houthis are still a problem for them. Hezbollah is a problem for them. The Iraqi militias in Iraq, the Shias there, are a major problem. And again, Iran has done serious damage to its Gulf neighbors. And again, Bahrain, Kuwait, these other countries are on the brink as far as I am concerned. And no one in the West is going to talk about that, because that would imply that Iran is basically winning, because Iran is clearly not on the brink. It's a lie that they're going to take 20 years to rebuild, supposedly. But Kuwait, Bahrain, these other places definitely are. So that's the reality there. But I want to encourage everybody to make sure you're saying your prayers, your Paschal hours this week instead of your morning and evening prayers, because we want to keep the positive prayer and repentant energy going forward. If anyone else has any super chats, be sure to send them on in. But I wish I'd posted that clip already. It's just behind on a few things, but the Iranian-Chinese railway connection has been rebuilt after it was bombed by the U.S. and China. We're going to have a clip from back in our coverage in July after the 12-day war wrapped up. We had George McMillan on, and we talk about how that railway's completion in June, July 2025 was actually one of the impetuses for the 12-day war starting. One of the main reasons behind the scenes that they're not telling us that this war is being waged at all, because again, they want to be able to have an energy blockade of China And if Iran and China have a land energy corridor, then that's extremely hard to blockade. So they need to destroy Iran, regime change Iran, destroy those rail connections so that when the Strait of Hormuz is blockaded, like is currently going on right now, then China has a big problem. That's obviously why they just signed a defense treaty with Indonesia that literally just happened, I think today or yesterday. And that's, of course, Indonesia controls the Straits of Malacca. So between Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines, who have close relationships with the United States, the U.S. will be able to block those straits and those trade routes, block the Strait of Hormuz. And then with Japan, Taiwan, and the other island chains that they control there, they would be able to basically isolate China energy-wise, and their 1.6 billion people would, have a major energy crisis. But again, China is shoring up against this. The obvious elephant in the room is Russia. Power of Siberia 2, the major pipelines connecting Russia and China, would prevent this from being ultra effective. And again, the Iran-China rail lines themselves are proving very difficult to keep destroyed. They're in the most isolated part of Iran, farthest away from U.S. bases and interests, in countries entirely mostly dominated by Russia and China themselves. So again, this attempt it's all too little, too late. And this is the great power politics. And when people think about World War III, eventually China, Russia, one of these powers is going to look and say, look, we don't have to take this anymore. We've now achieved peer military capabilities, so we're going to decide this on the battlefield and not have to deal with the diplomacy here. So as far as Trump, again, he said very close to over. Obviously Fox News, he's telling them they want to convince people it is over, but close to over and over are two very different things, considering that Trump was saying this war was over on the second day of the bombings, when we had air superiority and destroyed 90% of their launchers and had killed everyone there that mattered, and everyone was already taking over behind the scenes. That was all lies. So why would we believe that it's almost over now? Here on April 14th, we are almost exactly 6 weeks out from the beginning of the Purim War, which is not over. It is a ceasefire. There have been no deals, no negotiations have been finalized, nothing has been agreed upon. So the ceasefire still has a deadline, which I believe would be not this coming weekend, but sometime the week after. So maybe sometime later in the later week. I'm forgetting when the 2-week deadline was initially announced, because it was the extension of a 10-day deadline, which is the extension of a week deadline, which is the extension of a 48-hour deadline. So who's keeping up with this bullshit anymore? We have $20 from Porphyry Allen. Christ is risen. Indeed, he is risen. Christos Voskresi, brother. Railroad bucks. Thank you. This super chat will be going directly to the people of Iran and the IRGC infrastructure, Army Corps of Engineers, to rebuild the Chinese-Persian military corridor for the security of Eurasian energy. But thank you for the $20, brother. Your support is always greatly appreciated. If I'd already posted it, I would. So stay tuned to the Twitter accounts and everything else. I'll probably be posting it this evening, this clip of George McMillan completely predicting what has occurred right now. So World War now, right? Tomorrow's news today. That's what we're all about here. But again, worldwarnow.co, if you're not already behind the paywall supporting us there, I highly encourage you to. One of the big stories I think that I almost forgot actually is all the updates with Turkey. Obviously, Erdogan has been increasing his bellicose rhetoric against Turkey. The foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, and Turkey will be holding a meeting to discuss Middle Eastern security. In the past few months, Turkey has also become the second greatest foreign military power in the world after the United States. They have the most foreign military bases of any country. And again, some of the recent statements from the Turks right here. We have Foreign Ministry, Hakan Fidan, Netanyahu, described as the Hitler of our time, is a figure whose identity and record are well known. Under Netanyahu's leadership, Israel is being tried at the International Court of Justice on allegations of genocide. Netanyahu's current objective is to sabotage the ongoing peace negotiations. The targeting of our president by Israeli officials, talking about Erdogan, through baseless, insolent, and false accusations is a result of the discomfort caused by the truths we have consistently voiced on every platform. So obviously the U.S. has been, Israel has been going hard against Erdogan. They said, Israel Katz, the Israel defense minister, said, Erdogan, who did not respond to missile launches from Iran towards his country because he knew they were Israeli missiles and turned out to be a paper tiger, is fleeing to the realm of anti-Semitism and announces field trials in Turkey against Israel's political and military leadership. What an absurd matter. The Muslim Brotherhood man who massacred Kurds is accusing Israel of genocide for defending itself against its Hamas partners. Israel will continue to defend itself with strength and determination, and he better sit quietly and shut up. So obviously Erdogan, he was talking about how they're doing a Holocaust in Gaza and talking about blood murders in Europe and stuff like that. So he went on to say, Netanyahu's the targeting of Turkey will continue to stand by innocent civilians. We will persist in efforts to ensure that Netanyahu is held accountable. And then one of the craziest statements that Erdogan made that most people were talking about, he said, just as we entered Karabakh, just as we entered Libya, we can do the same to Israel. There's no reason why we shouldn't. So I guess in his mind, Turkey can descend down through Syria and Lebanon and enter northern Israel. And that is, imagine Erdogan still in power, or then he falls somehow after somehow Russia attacks him on behalf of Israel. That is a worst case prophetic scenario that we have broken down here on World War Now. Confidant also said, Israel cannot live without an enemy after Iran. Netanyahu seeks to declare Turkey a new enemy. So we've been predicting this for months, even years here on the show. So again, Turkey, next enemy of Israel, as they realize that they can use the scariness and the rhetoric of the Muslim Brotherhood, just like when they struck Qatar, despite holding U.S. bases. I wouldn't be surprised if Israel struck Turkey in that same way. Again, not necessarily a war, an attack like on Iran, but perhaps several rounds of strikes that take out Hamas leadership, and maybe they incidentally kill Erdogan or other major Turkish forces. There are reports from Greek elders that have said that in June 2026, Erdogan's plane will be shot down returning from North Africa. So we're going to be watching all of that extremely, extremely closely. Let me check, see if there's any new anti-war news here. Of course, NATO has ruled out joining the Hormuz blockade. Members of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization have refused any role in closing the Strait of Hormuz. President Donald Trump announced a complete blockade of the crucial waterway and that other countries would be assisting the American Navy. After the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran on February 28th, Tehran placed strict restrictions on traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran limited shipping vessels from friendly nations that paid a toll. Tehran says that Iran will continue to control the strait after the end of the conflict. For the first 6 weeks of the conflict, Iran was able to continue exporting its oil, and Washington suspended oil sanctions against Tehran to keep energy prices from spiking. On Sunday, Trump changed course and ordered a total blockade of the Strait of Hormuz that began on Monday morning. When he announced the closure of the strait, he wrote on Truth Social, other countries will be involved with this blockade. However, America's closest allies have now ruled out involvement. Reuters reported on Monday that several NATO members have stated that they will not take part in Trump's Middle East war. We're not supporting the blockade. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer told the BBC, my decision has been very clearly whatever the pressure, and there's been some considerable pressure, we're not getting dragged into the war. French President Emmanuel Macron said European nations would be willing to take a role in securing the strait once the conflict ends. NATO's refusal to send military assets to the Middle East to support the war against Iran has angered President Trump. Last week, NATO Secretary Mark Rutte traveled to the U.S. in an effort to improve relations with the alliance's most important member. Before the meeting with Rutte, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt quoted Trump as saying they were tested and they failed. It's quite sad that NATO turned their backs on the American people over the course of the last 6 weeks when it's the American people who have been funding their defense. So, again, the Strait of Hormuz is closed. It's now even less things are getting out of it than when the war was raging and fighting and the Iranians were hitting ships. So why would the Europeans support this? Why would the Europeans think that the U.S. is their friend in the situation? Again, they're the ones that are suffering from all of the actions of the U.S. and Israel, and the only reason they're not one, they've been neutered, so they can't stand up more. But the only reason they're not standing up even more rhetorically is because Western Europe is still controlled by Jews and are subservient to the religion of the Holocaust. That for some reason, even the countries that defeated Nazi Germany in World War II feel guilty for. Which, again, it's just the most ridiculous thing. But no, I would, again, with all this talk, Trump, he's saying Iran is a nation of losers. He just said that in the interview. I really don't think this is over. And again, even if it takes a year to start up again, that wouldn't surprise me. But I don't think this is even over in the short term. I think before the summer in particular, we might get another summer ceasefire. But I think leading up into May and June, we're gonna see some more fighting. So that's big news. Someone says Spain is also strengthening their ties with China. It's true. Spain and China, big meeting today. Spain's refusing to allow their bases to be used by the U.S. at all. Trump is considering cutting off all relations with Spain. So the NATO crack-up is very interesting. And if some people speculate the U.S. is supposed to turn on Turkey on behalf of Israel, then obviously getting out of NATO would be the easiest way for them to do that. So that's something we're going to be keeping up with closely. Obviously, Viktor Orban lost his election in Hungary in a landslide, supermajority from the new coalition that ran to the right of him on immigration, but also very much to the left of him on Ukraine, very anti-Russia campaign. They're basically sort of a somewhat pro-white, basically the Richard Spencer platform is emerging, this pro-EU, anti-Russia, but still anti-migrant, pro-European, almost in an ethnic way has emerged. So again, I can't really blame the Hungarian people. Obviously, it was the wrong call. The idea that these liberals and anti-Russian people are going to actually help Hungary is wrong, but Viktor Orban's two closest political allies are Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, the two most unpopular political figures in the entirety of Europe. J.D. Vance came and did a speech at a rally in Hungary. I have no idea why. They thought that was a good idea. The poll numbers started collapsing after that. So again, full Americanization, Likudization, Jewishization, the Semitization of Hungarian politics completely screwed Orban in this election. He's now out of power for the first time in 20 years. So that's the situation there. And if anyone else has any super chats, feel free to send them in. Not any huge new recent live updates. We're going to be keeping up with it. Obviously, we're 47 minutes in here. But with all of that, you know what time it is. It's time to lock in on some Ethnoguesser. That is right. Here we are. Again, hope everyone can play along. I'm going to be keeping up with any new stories or updates that come in anytime soon. But be sure to stay tuned to the channels. I'm going to be dropping that clip from George McMillan here very soon about the... Sorry, just coordinating with about that clip itself. So with all of that, thank you. I want to thank so far all the super chatters, Rasputin Archive, Beauty of the Struggle, St. Barbara Edmonton, Ewar Mapping, and Porphyry Allen. Feel free to send in your own super chats, but you know what time it is. Ethnoguesser. Let's guess the ethnicities of these people. I know this. These are Fijians. Dang it. I knew it was basically, I should have remembered this. I remember this now. They look exactly like Fijians, but they're, Solomon Islands people. Melanacid variety, Walzenbi culture, Bantu form, although no close genetic relation to Africans exist. Bougainville. Yeah, I should have known. Bougainville. Where's Bougainville? I believe. Is this Bougainville? This Bougainville is here. Yeah, these countries down here just off Papua. So, I mean, in my opinion, that still counts. That's nonsense. I'm sure there's a connection, but yeah, I got it. South Pacific, Melanesians, yada yada. Okay. Now these are Europeans of some variety. I have a little Slav to them. This is sort of giving. I mean, there almost could be Romania, Moldova, but I'm almost more considering something like this. What does everyone think? The question is just how European. Is it just European Slav? Is it something closer to the Black Sea? People are saying Balkan. I guess he does have a little Serb about him, but I don't know. I need some more input from people. People saying Balkan. East German, Polish. We'll go there. All right, there we go. Probably could have gone a little, yeah, more Ukraine. Moldova would have been perfect. I should have gone with that. North Ponted, but solid 4,500, almost a 5K. So that's good. Altered Mediterranean, Eastern Europe connects to Pontids. So yeah, Black Sea people, I guess Georgians. Yeah, see, there's certain Georgians look just like this as well. Almost looks like Givi a little bit, a little lighter skin Givi. So not bad. Indeed, he is risen. Christ is risen, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Next round. All right. A lot of white people this round. This is what we like to see. Now, is this just Scandinavia? I mean, this has me thinking like here or here even. I'm thinking Netherlands or Scandinavia. All right, we'll go here. Oh, it's always more east than you think on those ones. Isto-Norded. East Norded subvariety common in coastal regions of Baltic countries, when the last strongholds of East Nordids that are only minority type in most of their distribution today played a role in the formation of Tavastid and Tronder, purest in Western Finns and West Estonians. Also Latvians, Lithuanians, Russian Poles, Belarusians, and in Sweden, where it has Hälsingland subvariety. Darn. Too far west. All right, next round. Oh boy. Rasputin Archive, what are we working with here? Are these Central Americans, or are these more like some of these types of people? What are we looking at here? Mohawks. Machu Picchu type. We got $10 from Ricky Barra. Hey, good to see you, Rick. Christ is risen. Keep up the great reporting, brother. God bless you. God bless you as well. Indeed, he is risen. Thank you, Rick. Great to see you. Good friend of mine in real life. So great to hear from him. Rick, maybe you know what these people look like. But I don't know. People say Andes. I kind of see it. So maybe I'll go, some of this. But Central America looks potentially valid as well. People say Arizona. I don't know about all that. You think these are like Hopi people or something? I'm feeling more South America, but yeah, I'm feeling more something like Peru or something like that. But I'm going to be frustrated if I get this one wrong. But you know what? I think I'm going to lock in what I've got right now. Boom. Come on. You're telling me it would have gone there? I would have gotten a 5,000? All right. 4137. Not bad. Looks like, I guess, mostly Argentina and Paraguay. Huarpid, northern Fueguid variety that is often considered part of the Lagoid group. Native to the Argentinian Cuyo and the Bolivian savannas. All right, so not even as mountainous as I necessarily thought. All right. I'm pretty sure this is South Africa. I knew it was, and I knew it was far. I knew it was either like this coast here or this coast here, and I literally I hedged. There we are, but 3475. I knew it. I've seen those people before. The Zosade, mix between Bantu and Khoisans. Yep. We knew that one. Yeah, Nigeria. Casual answer. Sorry, Ybor mapping, but if you thought that was Nigeria, you were way. I never thought that for 5 seconds. 499. Jonathan Kelly. Should shill prepper merch companies interests aligned? Well, if there's a prepper merch company that wants to sponsor World War Now, send them my way, because I'm certainly not going to shill anyone's products for free. I can tell you that much. So if someone wants to sponsor us and they make a good product, feel free. Other than that, I'm sure there are other Orthodox people that can tell you things that they recommend. But I would happily take a sponsorship from some kind of prepper company or something like that. So thank you, Jonathan. Great to see you in the chat. Let's lock back in here for the final 50 here. Oh my gosh, what on earth am I looking at? Oh my gosh, this is some crazy I mean, this could literally be anywhere from like here up to here. Good night. I don't even know. It could even be over here. But tell me what people think. I really have no idea. I have no idea. Like the guy, like there's very Turkish energy here, so I'm hesitant to go too far north. I think I want to go like here. Damn. Yenisei, Siberid subtype of the Yenisei River, basin in Siberia, shows some Americanoid features. Yeah, the woman, especially. Also seems to be culturally and linguistically linked to Pacifids, although no close genetic relationship is clear. May show a proto-Mongoloid state, most common among the Ket people. Yeah, see, I was on the right latitude. But yeah, just another one of these random small ethnic minorities out in the vastness of Russia. That's one of the hardest elements of this whole game. All right, round 7. Oh no, I saw a lot of people that look like this in Russia. This has to be like, I'm afraid it's also going to be like Tatar or something. Like it's either here or like somewhere down here. Chechen. No, the guy doesn't look Chechen. Yeah, Turkmenistan. Looks like trouble. I'm most likely going to go like near Kazan. Damn it. Yeah, Turkmenistan would have been better. No, actually, it was a Pamirid. Yeah, Uzbekistan, Western China. Yeah, see, Hungarian. These are like straight up Mongolians. So if I'd gone Hungary. See, I mean, this is basically correct. Like it's just didn't pick up the migration. Okay. Some pirates. I'm just not 100. Are these Africans? Like, are we 100% sure these are Africans? I think that's the question we need to ask here. I don't think Central America on this one. But honestly, that's at a certain level, like this could almost be like Suriname or like something. This is weird though. It doesn't look like most of the Africans. Like these almost look like people in the Caribbean, but the Caribbean is like never in this game. Like I've literally never once gotten the Caribbean in this game because all the native people in the Caribbean are dead and it's just Africans now. Dang, this is crazy. I feel like I have to go Africa. I feel like I have to also go like South Africa. Dang. Oh no. I knew it. I wasn't thinking. Arab admixture. Very ancient native type Sahara Desert, Proto-Ethiopid. Oh. Traces of ancient Khoissanids. Yeah, these are some like desert wanderers. Yeah, there was no way I was getting that. Is that my first 0? Yeah. Whew. No good. No good. Let's lock this in though. Let's lock these in. Paleo-Saharid. Ancient type. Yeah, see, they've got the slight yellowishness, which is that's why I guessed South. See, you can't. I was smart. See, Khoissanids. Those are all in South Africa. So, I was thinking there was logic, there was method to my madness, right? All right, last 2 rounds. All right, we're in Asia. And these got to be like Laotians or something. Dang it. Indonesians. Proto-Malayan. Borneo. This is the most Borneo I've ever seen. I guess I could have figured that out, but looked a little more north to me. Well, how many points? 16-10. Not great. So this is not a great round. But yeah, just a little farther south. See, I mean, I literally would have worked on freaking Hanan. So I don't think I was that off. Oh, wow. This got to be like Sudan, Kenya, Uganda, right? Dang it. Of course, every time you like, yeah, those are just straight Gambians. Maxim Baddy looking. Oh, this is so bad. Top 41%. Oh. Worst round ever. That's what happens when you take 2 weeks off and you've been feasting for the past few days. Not good. Not good. Dang it. You see, if I'd never played this game, I might have guessed this, but even then, they don't look super Bantu. Like, what's the... They got to tell me this one. Yeah. Senegalid. Gracile Sudanid variety, named after the country of Senegal. So I guess these are just people from Senegal. Let's lock that in. Senegal. Dang it. That is so frustrating. That is very frustrating. All right. Well, we can definitely improve that after next round. Whew. Atrocious. I don't even know if I got a 5,000 that whole round. Terrible. Terrible. But yeah, that's that. Thank you guys for playing along. If anyone else has any other super chats, feel free to send them in. Would love to read, answer your questions. We've been going for over an hour now. We have a report here. This is from Middle East Spectator. It says satellite imagery shows that Iran has excavated the entrances to its underground missile bases rapidly. So it's clear that Iran is rebuilding much faster than the 20-year timeline that Donald Trump seems to have given things. I want to encourage everybody, if you're not already following me on Twitter, follow me at GnomeRad on X. It's one of the better ways to keep up with the news. Obviously, follow us on Telegram, World War Now Telly. We post full videos on the World War Now Twitter as well, the free previews for premium and the full episodes for free stuff. So check all of that out. Of course, many people are pointing out that, and of course, they're claiming it's been a thing for a long time, but it hasn't been this consistent for a long time. All of the towns in northern Lebanon have been removed from Apple and Google Maps. So they are facilitating the the Israeli genocide of Lebanon. This was my take on the negotiations collapsing. It says, God gave the Orthodox Christians in the Holy Land a ceasefire so they could peacefully celebrate Pascha. And he gave us in the West an incredible new Chud Jack just in time for the celebration of the resurrection. And now we can look forward to Israel getting bombed again as we enter a period of feasting. I would never ask to be born at a different time than now. Christ is risen. And if Chud Jack, I'm sure everyone saw this. We'll be seeing this for a long time. This was probably the most important news that happened in the past week, so save the best for last here. But pray for Chud. Hope he gets the help he needs. Apparently, he was a veteran, like freaking out, breaking into a guy's house trying to kill him. So pray for Chud. Pray for the world. Pray for Donald Trump. I know that we all just kind of wish that he would repose peacefully or something, and shuffle off this mortal coil. But we got to pray for him. We pray for him every liturgy. I make sure we have to pray for our leaders, our armed forces, even if our armed forces are engaged in evil actions on behalf of Jews. We have to pray for the people being put in the line of fire, that they are protected as well. But fundamentally, we also have to pray for the Iranians. You have to pray for the resistance, because they are just as human as we are. They're children of God, and they are fighting on the right side of this. So their victory helps you. If you are an American patriot, the victory of Hezbollah of the IRGC of Iran is a good thing. It helps you in the world, in this struggle that we all exist in mortal reality. So that's my message. That is the show. Again, any final super chats, feel free to send them in. I'll probably go for another 2 or 3 minutes here, but that is the news. That is everything that's going on. We're going to be monitoring the situation closer than ever. We have a big Ether Hour coming up for everyone still watching. I guess I'll let you know. Should be dropping on Thursday, an interview with Larry Johnson, former CIA officer, friend of mine who I got to know pretty well on our mutual trips to Russia together. So looking forward to him. Check out the Sonar 21 blog that he runs, discussing everything. He's gotten a lot of things very correct so far. So we're going to talk about Iran, the war, Russia, Ukraine, all the other things that he is an expert on. So huge thank you again to Jonathan Kelly, Rick Ibarra, Porphyry Allen, E-War Mapping, St. Barbara Edmonton, Rasputin Archive, Beauty of the Struggle, for all of your support. Thank you so much for the super chats. I hope that I can see you guys on the next one. Like I said, I want to encourage everybody to get behind the paywall at worldwarnow.co. That is the best way to support the show. You can watch all of the World War Now weekly news episodes, all the Ether Hour episodes, including our Q&As, and get access to the Q&A threads. You get all of our fantastic interviews with people like Warren Baylog, Al Mayadeen, Hezbollah affiliated journalist Zainab Al-Safar, Jim Jatras, Gregory Hears, huge episodes with him, Anthony Westgate, Cleave to Antiquity, Andrei Afanasyev, Russian television host, doesn't do any other English language interviews almost anywhere else, Dr. Matthew Raphael Johnson. We have content all about Rasputin. I interview Russian Orthodox bishops in the Donbass at the front lines in Ukraine itself. We have Father John Whiteford on. We have Ava Bartlett on to discuss her time, and she lived in Gaza for years. Father Peter Hears, huge episodes with Father Peter Hears. So check all of that out. There really is no better podcast on the internet right now than World War Now. Nobody's doing it like us. So I hope everybody stays tuned. Get behind the paywall to stay tuned for the Larry Johnson episode. Follow me on X at GNOMERAD. Follow us on X at World War Now _. Be sure to follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're on those platforms as well. Obviously, worldwarnow.co on Substack is the home base. So be sure to subscribe to us there before anything else. If you're subscribed on these other platforms, you haven't already made it to the Substack, what are you doing at that point? That's a very interesting question. So again, thank you everyone for being in the chat and chatting along and playing along. Thank you for all the super chatters. Thank you to everybody that supports us financially in any way. And thank you everybody that has ever interacted with my content. I hope you've enjoyed. You had a good and fruitful Lent fighting against the demons and the passions, and I hope that you can enjoy Paschal Tide and the season of feasting, especially as Antiochians. 40 days of feasting awaits, no Wednesday and Friday fasts until the ascension of our Lord. So Christ is risen, Christos anesti, Christos voskresi, almasi kam, and of course, indeed, he is risen, alithos anesti, Christos voskresi, almasi kam, hakan kam, all of the responses and everything. So hope you all are basking in the joy and glory of the resurrection and celebrating our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ trampling down death by death. So with all of that, I will see you all in the next one. God bless.